Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Saturday to all of you, and thank you very much for joining in on yesterday's live stream. Had a great time, so thank you for being there. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that food is going to be a problem going forward. Well, there are 7 foods that are going to be scarce next year. I've often talked about that food shortages will come via prices, meaning that there's going to be food on the shelves. However, people are just not going to be able to afford them. So there will be a food shortage for a lot of people that just can't afford to buy the foods that they normally eat. And I've also touted that once price inflation keeps people from being able to buy the foods that they normally eat, pretty much shutting them out of the market, that we would then turn into a time of scarcity. Well, next year is going to start. And here, an ex-chef of the White House is stating that to be for about 7 food groups, a few of which we cannot really prepare for because they're like fresh foods, but most of them we can prepare for by getting them now, stocking up, and properly storing them for mid to long-term use. As we read on here, it says that a former White House chef whose name is Sam Cass is sounding the alarm on the future of coffee. Remember, I've been talking about coffee here for a couple of years. I think I brought it up just a few videos ago. Brought it up again, that Brazil had a dismal coffee crop this year and last year as well. And that Brazil is one of the major exporters of coffee in the world. Now, as we go through this article, as you can see, I've nitpicked some parts that are parts that I want to cover because everything else are just pretty much filler words. But as we go through this article, you'll see that there is an agenda behind this as well, and it is to try to convince you of why it is that these food shortages are occurring. Now, I'm going to read through that, and then I'm going to give you my opinion as to why it is that these food shortages are occurring, and then you can do your own research, ladies and gentlemen. That's the beautiful thing about the internet, is that you can listen to what someone is saying, but you can then go and do your own research and either validate or invalidate what you just heard. Here it says that a number of foods that we hold very dear to our hearts and largely take for granted are under a real threat. And with that, I agree 100%. We are on track for a lot of those to become quite scarce. You hear that? They're starting to use the word scarce now. Not shortage, but scarce. And some really to be largely unavailable to most people, and others significantly because of what? Because of price. It's what we've been talking about for years, and it's coming to be. That is why some people fail to prepare, because they cannot see out into the future. They go to the grocery store and they say, hey, this is still here. What you're saying is nonsense. This is still here. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a slow-moving train. The supply system is a slow-moving train, and what I try to provide to you here is what's called actionable intelligence, meaning that you still have time to prepare for what's coming, and in this case, you still do. So there's no need to panic. But if you don't prepare today, you may very well be one of those who panics tomorrow or next year or the year after. He goes on to say that products like wine, chocolate, shellfish, and rice are all in danger, as well as coffee. Well, AP, I don't really care for chocolate. I don't drink wine. I don't eat crabs, right? I don't eat crabs. Remember, we had that big mysterious disappearance of a whole bunch of crabs here in the Alaska coast. They didn't know where they went. They just disappeared. Well, what happens is this, ladies and gentlemen, even if you don't eat those products, those people that do, for example, let's pick crabs, for example. Those people that rely on crabs for protein, once they don't get that protein from that source, they're going to shift to something else in order to get the protein that their bodies are used to getting. So what else is there for them to shift to? Eggs, okay, it's one of them. Tofu, like from soy. And you have beef, you have chicken, you have pork, etc., etc. So what happens when there is a higher demand on those things that they normally don't eat, because now they're eating it in order to fulfill their protein needs? It means that the prices of those things that they're shifting to will go up. Affecting who? Affecting those people that normally rely on those protein items on an everyday basis. So this is something that we can prepare for. It's not just whether you eat or don't eat crabs. For example, let's go ahead and use coffee as well. There's going to be a big coffee shortage and scarcity, as they are stating here, and I do believe that. I don't believe the reasons why they're saying, and we'll go over that here in a minute, but I do believe that there's going to be a coffee scarcity issue. And we can see the price of coffee had been going up for the last couple of years pretty much consistently. So now people that don't drink coffee or find coffee too expensive to drink and they still need that boost of caffeine like I do, check it out. I got my daily coffee right here, and I'll probably have another cup here in the next couple of hours or so when my wife wakes up. So those people that rely on the caffeine and coffee, they will shift to something else if it becomes too expensive. What will that be? I don't know. Maybe it'll be caffeine drinks, caffeinated drinks like soda pop or those energy drinks. Or maybe they'll shift to tea. Believe it or not, tea has a lot of caffeine in it. Therefore, making those items more expensive because there's more of a demand on it. So now you're going to have coffee that's going to be more expensive because of scarcity, but then people shifting from that coffee to those other items is going to make them more expensive as well because there's going to be more demand on them. It's just basic mathematics, and I guess you can say basic economics as well. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even realize this when I was skimming through it. Scientists expect chocolate to go extinct by 2050. We live in interesting times. They're also saying that there's going to be shortages in things that we've talked about as well. Coffee, of course, cashews. This mega drought that they're going through here, or we're going through here in the western part of the nation and other parts of the world, is a mega drought that is as severe as the one that happened over 1,200 years ago. So this is not going to go away tomorrow or next year. It's going to continue going on because it's a cycle. Well, if you can accept that, then you can accept that you should probably prepare with some of these things that you need. In California, there are farmers, or I'm not sure what they call, like nut or fruit growers in California, because a cashew is really a fruit, and almond is really a fruit, but we all call them nuts or legumes, right? There are actually farmers, I'm going to call them, that are actually ripping out their nut trees so that their other nut trees can have a chance to survive and not die off because of the lack of water. Avocados, ladies and gentlemen, is a very water-intensive crop as well. They continue to say here, coffee proved to be the most vulnerable to climate change, with negative impacts dominating all growing regions, primarily due to increasing temperatures. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that I put out one or two videos in the past where I talk about why Brazil, the largest coffee producer in the world, I do believe they are. Correct me in the bottom if I'm wrong in the comments. But why they've been having problems with their coffee crops. One is water, for sure. They're not getting enough water. But another one is also freeze. So here they only pinpoint the hot temperatures, right? Because they're having a lack of water. But they've also had a couple of freezes, unexpected freezes, that killed off a lot of their crop last year and the year before. The other one that they don't like to talk about here, because of course they want to shove this climate change thing down your throat until you can't breathe anymore so they can tax you to death. My opinion, and my opinion alone, of course. But the other one is coffee is a very fertilizer intensive crop. You need a lot of fertilizer in order to be able to get the yields from coffee that you normally do. And now you all know that there is a war on fossil fuels. And you know what? Someone told me, stop using fossil fuels. It's a word that they came up with in order to coerce the population. Ladies and gentlemen, fossil fuels, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of many people that hear that word, they mean like oils, like gas, like energy. And that's why I use the word fossil fuels, because it encompasses, to the layman out there, which I am one of, it encompasses energy out there. But without fertilizer, coffee is not going to be able to grow or yield as much as it normally does. And where does most fertilizer come from? It needs natural gas in order for it to be produced. And like I said, there is a war on fossil fuels, therefore eliminating the production of the fertilizer that we need in order to feed the people of the world. Remember that fertilizer equals food. And going on towards the bottom of the article here, it says that 60% of all wild coffee species are threatened with extinction and potentially within the next decade. Arabica farmers in Brazil, which represent the world's top exporter, are yet again seeing massive losses in its coffee crop, which already had setbacks due to a freakish weather, bringing lower yields that threaten to extend a global supply crunch. Now, they're talking about freakish weather right here, right? But they're not talking about warming. I'm assuming, and I can't prove this because I didn't write the article, that before when they were talking about hot weather, it's because there was drought, not enough water. But now that they're talking about freakish weather, remember I told you that they had a freeze? Well, they don't want to tell you in the same article that the world is burning to death, and then at the same time that one of the reasons they lost a large part of their crop was because a lot of it got frozen and the trees and the crop died off because of an overnight freeze. However, I digress. And to finish it off, because of the shortage, global prices will continue to go up, and the uncertainty on Brazilian supply is one of the main reasons. Like I said, Brazil is one of the major exporters, if not the major exporter of coffee in the world. What then can the general consumer do? For starters, and we're going to go ahead and dissect this little paragraph right here. What then can the general consumer do? For starters, try drinking more sustainable cup of coffee, which begins with picking fair trade certified coffee products. And I'm sure that all of these trade certified coffee products fall under the umbrella of what we all today know as ESG, Environmental, Social, Governance, which is something that is being implemented through the United Nations under SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, that is being pushed down to corporations, banks, and now governments across the world. If you don't know what ESG is, you really need to look it up. I've done a few videos on it explaining exactly what it is and what the intentions are behind it. These products must meet fair trade standards. By whose standards, ladies and gentlemen? Ensuring safe working environments and improved conditions, wages, working hours, benefits, and the elimination of forced labor and poverty, and fair trade. The problem that I have with that is that these organizations, they try to be nitpicky as far as what they just talked about, ensuring safe work environments. Well, most of the world does business with a big country that starts with the letter C, that for the history, at least for my history that I've been alive, I've always heard that they've had very bad labor practices over there, right? Go take a look. Also, take a look at South Africa, all right? Take a look at the labor practices in South Africa so that people can be driving around in their EVs and their electric vehicles, so that people like me, ladies and gentlemen, and like you who own solar generators can have the lithium inside the solar generators. So this last paragraph here that I'm going over is pretty much their way of trying to thought shape you, to shape your thoughts in order to guide you toward the direction that they want you to be in. Moral of the story is this: stock up on these things that you know you're going to need. Rice is going to be a big issue next year. In my opinion, it will go up in price, maybe double of what it is now. And it's already doubled in price in the last 2 to 3 years. And I've been documenting that. It's already doubled in price in the last 2 to 3 years. Well, almost double, about 90%, 95%, all right, of what it used to be 2.5, less than 3 years ago, I would say. We have come to a point where we have to start getting as much as we can in order to sustain ourselves in the future, because right here, they're talking about it right here. There is going to be scarcity, and the scarcity usually starts with those things that we really don't need. Do we really need coffee? Needing coffee to survive is almost like saying that you need cigarettes to survive. You can survive without them, right? Do we really need cashews? Do we really need crabs? The scarcity will start with those things that we don't really need to survive, and then they will work themselves down to the basic level of those basic things, those basic necessities that we need. So now you need to be preparing and stocking up on those basic things that you need that will allow you to get through a rough period, a crisis, whatever you may want to call it. Having said that, thank you very much for joining in. I want to go ahead and let you all know, I talked about this in the live stream yesterday, but Contingency Medical, their checkout page is down. They are reverting to a new payment processor that works better for them. However, they will be up. I talked to Theron, who is the president and CEO of Contingency Medical, and he said that they should be up and running by Monday. And I talked him into switching my Alaska Prepper 10 code from giving you a $10 off coupon to 10% off. So for 5 days after their site comes back up, if you want to take advantage of 10% off, which is about $30 off instead of $10 off, go ahead and use that code. It's only going to be good for about 5 days after the site comes back up. I talked to him about this and I was like, I think it's a good way to go ahead and take care of those people that have been waiting to get it and couldn't get it. Like myself, I still have 2 more packs to order that couldn't get it because the site was down, and he agreed, which I think is a good thing to do. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to talk to you about this right here. Right? So if you want to click off now because you don't want to hear about this, then go ahead and click off. Thank you very much for joining in. Have a great weekend and God bless you. I have to tell you about a phone call that I got about this. And it's a story, and you know that I like to tell stories, so it might be more than a couple of minutes. I have a very good friend that is the only friend that I keep in touch with from when I left the military. And she's my battle, all right? In the military, when you're the same rank, you call each other's battles because you're like battle buddies. You go everywhere together when you're deployed to make sure you're safe and all that stuff. Well, she lives in Indiana. And over a year ago, she called me and she was like, hey, Battle, what's going on? And I say, hey, Battle, how you doing? We probably talk about 3 or 4 times a year, all right? And we make sure we call each other on our birthdays and stuff like that because we're good friends. Like I said, pretty much the only one that I keep in touch with every once in a while, I'll get a call from one of my soldiers and stuff. But like I said, we keep in touch pretty frequently, me and my Battle. So she says, Battle, this was about a year ago. She's like, that nutrient survival thing that you talk about, is it real? Are you serious? Is that good? And I'm like, Battle, I wouldn't be saying that it is if I didn't think that it wasn't. I wouldn't be doing that. I said, absolutely is good. And she's like, well, I'm not really interested in the food, which I recommend everything in nutrient survival. Everything there is, in my opinion, great. She said, I'm not very interested in the food, but what about this immune boost right here? She's like, what's that all about? I'm like, Battle, that thing is awesome. I said, I take one of these every single day. I sip it with my water every single day, and it just keeps me from getting sick. Now, I'm not a medical doctor or anything like that. I'm not saying that this thing is the cure of all things. You're right. You're not going to cure cancer with this. But I told her, I said, it just keeps me from getting sick. I said, and if I do start feeling a little bit under the weather, I double up on this stuff. And she said, are you serious? I'm like, listen, just buy one. And if you don't like it, if it doesn't work for you, then you let me know and I will send you what it costs you to buy it. And she's like, okay, I'm going to take your word on that. I'm like, okay, fine. Well, she called me a couple of times after that telling me how good this made her feel, that it made her feel good. She didn't get sick and it made her feel good. However, what I want to talk to you about is her last phone call to me. Because it was kind of funny. After that phone call, I told her, man, I wish I would have recorded this phone call because it makes a great testimonial. She tells me that her father came over to visit. And that while he was there visiting, that her husband got pretty sick. He got pretty sick. I don't think it was the bug that's been going around for the last couple of years, but he got pretty sick. He got a bad cold. And she said that her husband hates the way this tastes because what I see in this as far as the taste is kind of bitter, and I think that the bitterness in this is like from the vitamin C that they put in there, because vitamin C is pretty much citric acid, you know, but it's pretty bitter. But what I do is I just mix it with like orange juice or something like that you like, that will just dissipate the bitter taste in this or the bitter flavor in this. Me, I just put it in water and drink it. I like it. I have no problem with it. But she said her husband hates this because it's so bitter. He just does not like drinking this. So he got really sick and she coerced him. She said, no, you're going to go ahead and drink one of these. And she gave him one, just one, ladies and gentlemen. And she said that the next morning when he woke up, he came and he told her, he said, I don't know what in the world they put in that stuff, but that stuff really works. because he was feeling a whole bunch better. Same thing with her father. Her father is obviously elderly, and he started getting sick that same day. I'm just guessing that he probably caught it from her husband. And before he went to bed, she grabbed an immune boost and she mixed it in with a little bit of orange juice for him. And he drank it. And he said that when he woke up in the morning, he felt great, like he was never sick at all. This stuff, ladies and gentlemen, really works. It's like I've stated before, and I'll keep saying it. I will not affiliate with someone. I will not partner with someone unless I believe in their product and the people behind them. And this is awesome. I'm not going to go through all of the stuff that's in it. You can go to the site and check it out if you like. But look, this is all the stuff, and I hope you're seeing this. This is all of the stuff that's in there. All of the minerals, all of the vitamins, everything that you need. Now, you take this and you compare it to some of the over-the-counter things out there. And I'm not going to mention companies' names or anything like that because I don't like throwing any company under the bus, right? They have their product. They believe in their product. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you compare this to those over-the-counter things that you take that's supposed to keep you from getting sick, that's supposed to promote immune health, there is absolutely nothing to compare. This is by far, in my opinion, the very best product that there is out there to keep you from getting ill during this season, usually the season where a lot of people get a cold and stuff like that. So if you haven't tried this because you think that they're expensive, you get what you pay for. Like I always say, you get what you pay for. I am stocked up on these and I'm going to make another big order. Why? Because I think that things are going to continue to go up in price, and eventually even Nutrient Survival, along with Mountain House, along with Oxen Farms, everyone else is going to have to continue bringing their things up in price, because if they want to stay in business, that's what they have to do. And of course, we the consumers will end up carrying that cost. Right now, Nutrient Survival, till the end of the year, I do believe, they have a sale where they've provided me a code. I do believe it's BREADBOX10, where if you purchase 4 items, any 4 items, it doesn't matter what price they are, they can be the 4 cheapest item on their site. If you purchase 4 items and use the code BREADBOXAP, you'll go ahead and get 10% off your entire order. And in addition to that, you get this cool little bread box right here that everyone seems to like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I just thought that I'd tell you that because this is awesome. I'm also going to stock up on more coffee, all right, because of the article that I just read for you. I'm going to stock up more coffee. For those of you that don't know that are coffee lovers, try Nutrient Survival coffee. It is awesome. I have it. Well, I just finished it. I have it every single day, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes twice. It tastes great. It's just, freeze-dried coffee, but it doesn't taste like freeze-dried coffee. And Nutrient Survival, not too long ago, came out with their bulk coffee bag that saves you like 10 or 12 bucks off of the singles pack that they sell. So you can get the same amount of coffee for about $10 or $12 less, something like that. And it's still just the same coffee. It just comes in a bulk bag that has 30 servings in it. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. Have a great weekend. God bless every one of you. Remember, there's no live stream on Sunday tomorrow. And I'm not going to have any Sunday live streams for the rest of this year. However, we will pick it up again next year for Sundays. But I still have my Friday live streams. So make sure you join in on Fridays for our live streams. We always have a great deal of fun at 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Hope to see you all there. Merry Christmas to every one of you. God bless you all.